Welcome. Hi. Today we are talking about biological pollution, where it comes from, and its effect on our life nowadays as COVID-19 virus. Also, we are talking about the environmental impact due to this mysterious virus. Now let's move to our main subject: biological pollution.
What is biological pollution? It is the presence of invasive species, which may have an impact on indigenous communities. Big words. Huh. Some might say that it is the impact of humanity's actions on the quality of the aquatic and terrestrial environment. After all, what is pollution without mankind? It resulted in biological pollutants, which are substances in our environment that come from living organisms and can affect our health. They include things such as pollen from trees and plants, insects or insect parts, certain fungi, some bacteria and viruses, and even animal hair, animal skin scales, saliva, and urine. But not all of these substances are harmful to everyone who encounters them. The main and most common problem from biological pollutants is asthma. Many airborne biological pollutants enter our bodies when we breathe them in with the air we need to survive. These tiny particles, from fungi, dust mites, or cockroaches, may cause chemicals in our bodies to make the muscles around the tubes that bring the air into our lungs to constrict. This makes the tube small in diameter. If this happens, a person cannot breathe. The person must take medicine to reverse this constriction and open up the airways again. Other problems come in the shape of allergies to pollen or spores in the air that can cause runny noses and stuffed-up heads. Other biological substances, such as poison ivy, can cause allergic skin rash. So, what do we do to decrease its spread? 1. Make sure walls and ceilings are dry. This will prevent fungus and molds to grow. 2. Use air conditioning in the summer. This will block the entry of pollen and fungal spore airborne particles, which may cause allergies. 3. Install and use exhaust fans that are vented to the outdoors in kitchens and bathrooms, and vent clothes dryers outdoors. These actions can eliminate much of the moisture that builds up from everyday activities. 4. Keep your house clean from dust and insects. 5. Avoid having allergy-causing animals in your home. If you are allergic to it, do not bring it home. But wait, why does biological pollution appear now? What started it? How could it be the responsibility of mankind? The answer to this question is environmental pollution. It all started with that, and that brings us to our next subject.
What is environmental pollution? Is any undesirable change in the physical, chemical, or biological characteristics of any component of the environment, air, water, soil, which can cause harmful effects. To see its effects, let's see this video. The major kinds of pollution and their effects. 1. Air pollution causes harmful effects on the environment as global warming, acid rain, as well as on humans as asthma, lung cancer. 2. Water pollution kills organisms that depend on these water bodies as dead fish, crabs, and cause harm to many other animals. In humans, drinking or consuming polluted water in any way has many disastrous effects on our health. It causes typhoid, cholera, and various other diseases. 3. Land pollution. As it and soil erosion progress, animals are forced to shift habitats and adapt to new conditions. As a result, some species are at risk of extinction. Effects of soil contamination on human health include breathing disorders, birth defects, skin diseases, and cancer. There are other types of pollutants such as noise pollution, light pollution, and plastic pollution. June 2006. The World Health Organization has published a report entitled Prevention of Diseases Thanks to Healthy Environments, towards an environmental burden of disease assessment. About the dangerous effects of environmental pollution on human health. Let's see some of report's points. The main four diseases that suffer from environmental degradation are diarrhea, infections of the lower respiratory tract, various forms of unintentional injuries, and malaria. Preventable environmental factors cause about 24% of all diseases that occur globally, which cause more than 13 million deaths annually, and more than 40% of malaria deaths, and 94% of deaths from diarrheal diseases can be prevented. Estimates in the report also indicate that 33% of the diseases that affect children under the age of 5 are due to some forms of environmental exposure. By preventing environmental risks, 4 million children a year can be saved, most of them in developing countries. These factors also cause about a third of deaths and diseases occurring in the least developed regions of the world. And that was just a part of it. Environmental pollution, as we said before, leading to biological pollutants which caused a lot of new and evolved viruses. MERS, SARS, COVID-19, and which we will talk about in detail in our next subject.
What is coronavirus?
Coronaviruses are a family of viruses that range from the common cold to MERS, SARS to COVID-19 coronavirus. Scientists have known of the human coronavirus since the 1960s. But only rarely has it garnered wider recognition over the past half a century. There have been no cases of SARS for over a decade. But MERS is an ongoing public health concern.
Where do coronaviruses come from?
Viruses were circulating in animals, and some of these have the capability of transmitting between animals and humans. We call that a spillover event. Let's now see the effect of coronavirus on humans.
In the past, coronaviruses that caused the common cold in humans also emerged, possibly in the same way as did the current pandemic. But they did not have the opportunity to hop on international flights and spread rapidly around the globe. They likely circulated locally and then gradually spread to neighboring countries and onward throughout the world.
As we saw in the video, COVID-19 virus left an impact on our planet, and that brings us to our next subject.
We too should follow the preventive guidance to protect ourselves. You too should stay at home. Stay safe.
In a matter of months, the world has been transformed. Due to coronavirus that was previously unknown before appearing in Wuhan. For millions of others who have not caught the disease, their entire way of life has changed by it. In most countries of the world, many factories and air travelers were stopped. And many bars and theaters were closed. And people have been told to stay in their homes. It is all aimed at controlling the spread of COVID-19. And hopefully reducing the death toll. But all this change has also led to some unexpected consequences. As industries, transport networks and businesses have closed, it has brought a sudden drop in carbon emissions. For example, there are reports from Columbia University talking about drop, 5 to 10%, of CO2 gas emissions in just a week. Kimberly Nicholas, a sustainability science researcher at Lund University in Sweden, says that the different reasons that emissions have dropped. Take transport, for example, which makes up 23% of global carbon emissions. These emissions have fallen in the short term in countries where public health measures, such as keeping people in their homes, have cut unnecessary travel. Driving and aviation are key contributors to emissions from transport, contributing 72% and 11% of the transport sector's greenhouse gas emissions, respectively. In addition to in China, emissions fell 25% at the start of the year, and coal use fell by 40% at China's 6 largest power plants since the last quarter of 2019, according to its Ministry of Ecology and Environment. The proportion of days with good quality air was up 11.4% compared with the same time last year in 337 cities across China. In Europe, satellite images show nitrogen dioxide, NO2, emissions fading away over northern Italy. A similar story is playing out in Spain and the UK. In the Canal of Venice, you can see the bottom of the sea clearly. In the darkest times, there is always light. The ozone layer has healed and the hole size at Antarctica is being smaller every day. So, what is the ozone layer and why it is important? The ozone layer was discovered in 1930, in the stratosphere, which is about 50 kilometers above the Earth. This layer absorbs like 90% of ultraviolet rays, which is harmful rays on humans coming from the sun, and it causes diseases like immune system suppression, skin cancer, etc. From about 20 years, it had been found a hole in the ozone layer that was increasing every year because of greatly increase of carbon dioxide gases, methane and usage of chlorofluorocarbons that we are using nowadays in a lot of industries and refrigerants like air conditioners and refrigerators all over the world. Only an immediate and existential threat like COVID-19 could have led to such a profound change so fast that the numbers of confirmed cases exceeded 2 million and the deaths are above 200,000.
A global pandemic that is claiming people's lives certainly shouldn't be a way of bringing about environmental change either. For one thing, it's far from certain how lasting this dip in emissions will be. When the pandemic eventually subsides, will carbon and pollutant emissions bounce back? So much that it will be as if this clear-skied interlude never happened. Or could the changes we see today have a more persistent effect? What will our future look like? We shall live to see. Stay safe and stay home.